Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guests. I want to thank you for being here. For the next 25 to 30 minutes, I'd like to discuss something that we all have been a part of. And just to give you some objectives of what we're going to talk about today, conflict resolution. We're going to define conflict resolution. We're going to explain the 5 topics or the 5 types of conflicts. Describe the methods for resolving conflicts and how to facilitate collaboration. Now, have you ever had an opinion and someone else would have a different opinion about something? Does that happen to you? Have you ever found yourself with someone that you really can't stand because you know they're going to have a different opinion of what you're going to do? This is called conflict. And this is something that we can't escape. Everybody has it, right down to little children. You know, one of the little kids is riding the bicycle. The next thing you know, the other little kid wants to ride the bicycle. And according to them, you had it last. So there's a conflict. We have conflicts in the workplace. We have conflicts in our social life, in our friends, our girlfriends, our boys, in our marriages, even in Congress. As a matter of fact, I think that's a prerequisite to be in Congress, is to be able to do conflict. I like watching learning channels. And I was watching one channel where there was a government body similar to Congress or the Parliament, and they were trying to pass some kind of law, and then there was that period of debate. I think it was in an Asian country. And the next thing I know, they were arguing, and then they came to blows. I mean, literally started fighting. They were climbing on the back of the chairs, grabbing people around the neck and throat, and other folks coming in trying to pull them off, and then somebody else would join the fight. And I'm thinking, this is the government. That's a conflict. That is a serious conflict. Conflict, we always see conflict as bad. However, conflict can be a good thing. If conflict is managed and resolved, it can be positive. Because positive resolved conflicts can result in new ideas, positive changes, innovation. Have you and another person ever got into a conflict and at the end you came up with another idea? So if the conflict is managed and resolved, it can be a positive thing. So what is conflict? Organizations spend millions of dollars hiring training consultants to do assessments or personality type assessments. Now, one of the big assessments, you might have heard of it in your own workplace, it's called the Myers-Briggs. Any of you ever heard of the Myers-Briggs? Yes. It's a personality type. And what it does is, based on your response to your survey, it will tell you whether or not you're a friendly person, or you're a visionary, and you could be a leader, or if you're one of the type of people that just really get along with people, or you're a doer. And the reason they do this is so that they can match up personnel that are going to work together in an attempt to mitigate conflict. Now, we're not going to get rid of it, but we can try to mitigate conflict. And so they would have these tests. I remember in an organization that I was associated with, we had to take a Myers-Briggs. And they started moving folks around as the results came in. And when they would form teams, they would form you up with somebody that had a response that would cause some type of cohesive with your team. Now, conflict more often is something that's perceived or a perception of something. Conflict resolution is when we recognize that there's a conflict that has to be addressed, and we calmly resolve it. Now, different ways of looking at conflict resolutions, because there are different types of conflicts. And the whole idea of conflict resolution is to try and turn it into a positive outcome. One of the types of conflicts is the contentious personality. Now, with that we're talking about a person's disposition or a person's personality, and oftentimes that is due to your culture, which is why organizations today are spending a lot of money teaching diversity to their organization, to their workforce. Parenting also is an input or a factor in that. How one person is brought up and how another person is brought up can cause conflict. I remember back in the day, if I went over to your house and visited you and we're jumping around and playing and we knock over the lamp, your mother come in there and slap the both of us. Okay? Hey, that's the way it was. Now today, you can't do that because you're going to have a conflict if you slap somebody else's kid. Now there's some others that is a part of this, like the know-it-all. How many of you know someone who's a know-it-all? Yeah? Raise your hand. Everybody? How many of you is a know-it-all? No, nobody's raising your hand. Okay. Kind of, maybe, sort of, maybe. Okay. How about an argumentative individual? Yeah, I mean, you see him coming, you know you're going to get into a fight. And what about the people pleaser? Well, okay, Melvin, I'll help you rob this bank just so we can all get along. No matter what's going on, the people pleaser. And then we have the narcissist, nicknamed the egomaniac. We've seen those. They're the ones that, I know everything, I'm better than you, I got everything. You can't tell them it's all about me. If the house is on fire, they run first, leave the kids and women all back up in there. It's all about them. And then you got the self-loather that just loathes everything. I can't stand it. Then we have the misunderstanding. And many conflicts may just be misunderstanding due to perception. Now and then, my wife and I may have a conflict a slight debate, and we're talking about it, and after 30 minutes of it, we realized we were saying the same thing. It was just the perception. My perception was different than her perception. And so it created a conflict. And what about issues? Issues are opinions, objectives, or prefaces about a situation that's different or has a different expectation than what someone else has. Now you have to be careful about issues. And for those of you who practice project management or risk management, issues are such a big thing that there's an issue log for issues that are really problems. And issues can actually stop work until you get it fixed. You can have an issue in your social life that just puts the brakes on everything until you resolve that conflict. And then we come to style of leadership. Now, all of you are leaders in some form, but they're different than each other. I illustrate that if you have 5 cowboys coming in to a water hole to water their horses, they may get there traveling different paths, but all the roads end with that watering hose or that watering hole where they're getting the horses to drink. So the leadership is different, and we use different types of leaderships. And there are typically 4 types of leadership. One is an authoritarian. Now, you may have, all of us will use all of these, but you may have an inherent baseline of one of these. Like you might be the authoritarian. Okay? You don't have to answer. But how many of you are the authoritarian as a baseline? What about democratic? All right, y'all, what do y'all think? Raise your hands if we want to do this. What about charismatic? Back in the day, we used to identify those types of people as the old silver-tongued devil. Okay, in Indiana, we used to identify those people, the old silver-tongued devil. And y'all probably have met some of these silver-tongued devils in your comes and goings. They're the ones that want to get up to you and talk to you, and kind of like Lenny. Any of y'all ever heard of Lenny, the guy that you open up his coat and he's got everything from a washing machine to a watch? My name is Sweet Lenny. Would you like a watch? Air conditioner? You used to wonder, well, how did he put all that stuff under that trench coat? And then we have the pacifist. Gets along with everybody, wants to be your buddy. After a while, they get annoying. Like, come on, get away from me. Now, as leaders, as we deal with conflict resolutions, you're going to have to use all of those. And depending on the situation, will depend on which one of those you're probably going to bring out the most. If you're trying to be proactive about something, you might be democratic. Okay, we want to come up with this, or how do you feel about it? And everybody discusses it. If you need to buy or get buy-in from somebody to help you do something, then you might have to show a little of that charismatic leadership style. Or maybe Your team has been working countless hours. Now it's time to be a little passive. How are you feeling? Take a day off. Let's have a party. Sometimes emergencies come up. You have to be authoritative. This is how it's going to be. We ain't got time to discuss it. I can't be your friend today. Do this. And I'm sure you've all have been there. Now, those are types of conflicts that you might find yourself in. Now, how do you resolve these conflicts? There are methods that you can use to resolve conflicts. One is to just ignore it. Put your head in the sand, wait a little while, and when you pop your head up, you hope that it's all gone away. And oftentimes when you ignore a conflict, what happens to it? When you raise your head up, it's bigger than it was when you stuck your head down in there. Or we can smooth it over. Okay. So your kid cost you $12,000. But he's okay. He totaled the car. But he's okay. So it's going to cost you $12,000. So we smooth it over. Or it's going to be all right. You burnt the turkey. It's going to be okay. We still got the dressing. And you're trying to bring harmony to all parties involved. And then there's the force. Boom. Power. This is the way it's going to be. We're going to do it this way. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Compromise. When we compromise, both sides gives up something so that we can get this thing going. Kind of a win-win situation. And the most commonly used and most effective is collaboration. And do you know why that is the most effective? That's the most effective because you recognize that there's a conflict. You bring in experts, you think about it, you have a meeting, and you discuss it. And using various tools like brainstorming and Delphi techniques and things like that with experts, you're coming to a conclusion. And usually when you use the collaboration, the outcome of that conflict is usually going to be positive. New innovation, new ideas are going to usually come out of that. Facilitating collaboration. When in any problem-solving event, there's always a cause or something causal. And we have to find what the root cause is. Right? Because if you target other things around the root cause, all you're doing is putting a Band-Aid on something. It's kind of like if your arm is swollen, you put ice on it, it goes down. The next day it's swollen again, you put ice on it, it goes down. The next day, now about this time you ought to start wondering, there's got to be something that keeps making my arm swell up. So we need to find the root cause. We might go to the doctor, or we may do a self-examination and find out that there's a cut on my arm, or there's a bruise on my arm because I fell down the steps, or or that baby toe. Now, how many people really hate it when you stump that baby toe? You stump that baby toe and your hand swells up. That's how bad the pain is. And you know that no matter what you do, you can rub it and everything else, but the root cause is you probably need to move whatever you keep stumping. Otherwise, you keep hitting it. So, when you're facilitating a collaboration, you're searching for the root cause. And in determining the root cause, you need to ask the question, why? How many times? Go ahead, just shout it on out there.
5.
5 times. According to the theorists, if you ask why 5 times, you will reach the root cause. That's why, have any of you ever seen a fishbone?
Yes.
Fishbone diagram?
Yes.
Not
Yes.
the fishbone on your plate, but the fishbone diagram.
Yes.
It's designed to help you find a root cause. Sometimes it's called a root cause diagram, but it was developed by Ishikawa. And it helps you to drill down and ask questions 5 times. And once you've reached that level, you have identified the root cause. Children know about root cause analysis. That's why they ask you, why? Well, you can't go out there. Why? Because it's cold out there. Why? They know all about root cause analysis. They want to know the real reason I can't go outside. The real reason is you want to take a nap. That's the real reason. Telling me, oh, it's cold outside, so you know. No, the real reason is you want to take a nap. You don't trust me out there. Another thing that you don't want to do when you're dealing with facilitating a collaboration in conflict resolution is do not allow emotion to get inside there. Have you ever, I know y'all don't do this, but you probably know someone else that does this. As soon as someone comes that you don't like, you're like, oh, goodness, here they come. I don't know what they're bringing today, but whatever it is, I don't want to deal with it. And they bring their opinion in there, and you already know that you ain't going with it. Because your emotion is already in there. So whatever it is that they say, I think you should leave through the back door because the front of the building is on fire. No, it ain't. Just because your emotion, no, it ain't. I'm going out the front. We know those kinds of people. Because like I said, I know none of y'all are like that. The other thing is that you want to be respectful when you collaborate, when you resolving your conflict. You want to be respectful. You want to show some empathy. You want to be calm. You want to treat everyone's answer or question or whatever it is that they're putting out there with the same respect as you want yours. Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. Have you ever been in a meeting where you're trying to resolve a problem, a conflict, and you got somebody, every time somebody says something, oh, that's stupid. Where in the world did you find that? Where did that come from? You call yourself a manager and you ask that question? You know, you have people like that. And you know those people because those are the ones that you leave off the email when you invite other folks to the meeting. And they just happen to be walking by and see everybody. What y'all doing? And you're like, oh man, dang. Next time let's move to meeting in the basement. And then they want to get in there and then it just goes south again. So you want to show respect and you want to be respectful for everyone else because the purpose is to resolve the conflict and make it positive. Positive change, innovation, new ideas. Because you'll find that once it's positive, new things come out. Have you ever been together and you're mauling things around and yeah, this, that, and the other, and hey, yeah, this, and then all of a sudden, a third idea popped up that nobody thought about. You go, hey, that's a great idea. My wife does that to me all the time. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, maybe it's me with her. I can't remember now. When you resolve conflict, you have to understand that it's not also what you're saying, but it's how you're saying it. Because most conflicts is due to a perception or misunderstanding. His name is N-A, Mariz, M-A-R-I-Z, said, 10% of conflict is due to difference in opinion, and 90% is due to the wrong tone of your voice. Madam Toastmaster.